Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacalyn. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Happy holidays to each and every one of you. Welcome to USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio. Our show today is The Corner Bookstore, and I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I'm thrilled to be here. It's going to be quite interesting today. My dear friend and co-host Diann Floyd Boehm is actually going to interview me. Look, I can't even say it, me, about my book, Behind the Green Screen. Let's bring her on. Welcome, Diann, to the program.
Hi, Dr. Jacalyn. What a special day it is. I'm so honored to have, to have the privilege to interview you.
Well, I'm thrilled that you are here and that this is the first interview and you're the one giving it. So I put you in the driver's seat right now for this show. And before we begin, I just want to highlight you and for you to share with people all the excitement about everything that you're doing and your latest accomplishments.
You're so sweet to do that. I am happy to tell everyone my new book's out, Song of Peace, and it's all about a little boy who wants peace on earth. And I'm just so thrilled about it. I should be getting a copy of the books today. That's how new it is, and you can find it on Amazon. And it's a book for all year round, because what do we want? We want peace all year round. And thank you for putting that up. I can't even begin to tell you what a sweet story, and there's some fun backstories that I'll share with you one day. And then Rise, A Girl's Struggle for More, the historical fiction for young adults, continues to do well. So thank you, everyone, for supporting. And I do hope you will continue. For those who are looking for a fun, inspirational book for your young teenager, or even for yourself, this is a book about a woman born in 1904 who was determined to make her dreams come true. So that's what I have going on right now. Oh, and King's First Christmas is in the Christmas anthology book that the Texas Sisters Press put together every year, and I was selected to be a part of it. And I wrote a short story. All the stories are for adults, by the way. And this one is about a doggy who has his very first Christmas, and it's not just all roses, because the dog had an experience, and it comes up happy. So I hope you'll enjoy that too. So thank you, Dr. Jacalyn.
Thank you, Diann. And we're actually going to run your sponsorship, your clip, and then we'll get back with the interview. Okay, folks, let's take a look at this with our lovely, wonderful Mr. Al Cini doing the voiceover. We'll be right back on the Corner Bookstore.
Kapayapaan, kapayapaan, kapayapaan.
Diann Floyd Boehm's A Song of Peace tells the story of a young lad named Tommy, whose fervent wish for peace on earth touches the hearts of his friends and family, spreads to his community, and eventually unites the whole world around making his dream of peace a reality for everyone. Sit down with the children in your life and share Tommy's amazing story of love and hope. Sing your own song of peace and invite the children to join you. Tommy's tale is more than just a story. It's a movement, and everyone's warmly welcome to take part.
Kapayapaan, 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 kapayapaan.
You'll find A Song of Peace, along with many other wonderful learning and enriching opportunities for children of all ages, at DiannFloydBoehm.com.
Hello and welcome back. It's so nice to have you here in the Corner Bookstore with my co-host who is actually hosting this episode, Diann Floyd Boehm. So let's get the setting correct.
You're so sweet. Well, Dr. Jacalyn, again, a privilege to be interviewing you. Your book, Behind a Green Screen, I have it right here. And for everyone listening, I have read this book maybe 3 times. Sometimes I go for it for just inspiration. So besides getting ready to hear Dr. Jacalyn sharing some inside inspiration, I want you to know that you too can make your dreams come true, because everything that you've been through, Dr. Jacalyn, wow, thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Diann. I'm very excited. I'm just going to put up, so if people want to purchase the book, excuse me, they can go over to Amazon. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I want to set the stage here. You did such a beautiful job. One of the things I loved about it was how you shared your family with us. And so I felt like before I even got to know about Behind the Green Screen in the sense of business, I got to know you. And share with us how you decided to do Dear Friend, because I just feel like if I didn't even know you, you were my very best friend.
Oh, thank you, Diann. It's interesting. When I first started to write the book with my book coach, Red O'Laughlin, whom you know and introduced me to, I was actually just going to have the book be basically how to set up a broadcasting platform and how to do what it is that I did. And I decided to make it more of a story about me, about what I've been through, about why I left the corporate world and how I ended up doing what it is I'm doing today, because I never in a million years would have ever anticipated that I'd be doing this and doing the way I'm doing it now. So the dear part is really because I want people to be able to relate to my experiences. So instead of me just lecturing people or putting content out there, I wanted to share it as a friend having a conversation with another friend.
I love that. And for everyone listening, truly, you feel like you are a friend. You write so truthfully, so honestly. You put your heart into this. And I just find it inspirational. So, I mean, I could just go on and on, but I want now for you to talk about, I loved that you did the gold star, because I totally related to that. And I know we have listeners out there that grew up in the days of the gold star in the classroom.
Absolutely. I remember I was at Pine Road School, which is in Pennsylvania, and I had a teacher whose name I won't say, but she had this poster board and all the students' names were on there going down, and then the dates of the month were on there, and every time you participated or did something correct, you got a gold star. So I always wanted to get as many gold stars as possible. And the interesting thing is, now I'm 58, I didn't even realize until last year how much my life was being, how many decisions I was making based on getting gold stars. It was all about getting the accomplishment. And in some ways, I think I overdid it because it was always about getting the degree, getting the certification. And a lot of things that I have accomplished, I didn't actually use in my life, but I learned from them, and they were my gold stars.
I love that. And, you know, I think many of us kids, when we were kids, couldn't wait, oh my gosh, a red star is good, but I really wanted that gold star. And I know as a young teacher, they say you always role model from your 4th grade teacher. And I totally did. I totally did the star thing. But the way I did it was everyone, and maybe your teacher did it too, you found out, okay, well, you might got a red, received, I should say, a red or a blue, but this is what you could do next time to get that goal. Did that happen to you?
Definitely. That definitely happened. And I remember, and correct me if my memory is wrong, but those stars came on these sheets of paper, right? And they would peel them off. So it's like, and it wasn't as good as if you peeled off the stars, if someone else peeled it off and put it up on your name.
I know that excitement. So I can see how the adrenaline rush in you, wanting to be an achiever in everything you do. It was like getting a gold star, correct?
Yes,
You said so in your book
absolutely.
as well, right? And I know I'm spending time on that, but it's really setting the basis for who you became, because you wanted to be good at everything that you set your mind out to, correct?
I always, and I never felt like I was competing with anyone. I was competing with myself.
Right.
And I have very high expectations for myself. I still do. And I'm very hard on myself. I beat myself up a lot because I want everything to be right, correct, proper. I'm very disciplined and very structured. And even with my workout routines, I want that gold star, which is in my mind. Nobody's actually giving it to me, but it's, did I do one more push up? Did I stay in a plank longer than I did yesterday? And they're little gold stars that motivate me to keep going.
Wow. Maybe we could trade for a day so I could get a little bit of that discipline in me.
Well, I don't know how good it is. I mean, I've always been like that, Diane. I'm extremely structured. I'm very black and very white. And I know I've been told many times I need more gray. So I think I have a little gray, but sometimes when I've gone into the gray, it hasn't always been a great experience. So I'm sure a lot of it has to do with control.
Possibly, and we could spend a whole day
Definitely.
on that, just you and I talking about going back and forth in the gray. But I'm glad you shared that, because again, in the opening of your book, speaking about your family, I mean, I think that if you would have just jumped into the gold star, I couldn't appreciate how you got there and why. But because you had such great role models, your mom, your dad, your uncles. I mean, I feel like I know the extended family. I'm ready to come to Thanksgiving. Like we're not having. I don't want to go. Not all. Share it just a tiny bit so everybody has that feeling of who you are through your family. Before we go any further.
Thank you. I would love to. So I come from a small family. I have one sister, my sister Debbie, and then my parents, Jack and Joyce. And we were always close. And I have always been close, extremely close to my parents, where even when I was married and I went to a marriage counselor, and the counselor said, you're putting your father ahead of your husband. I said, yep, that's pretty much the way it's going to be. And it's not changing. So they
Wow.
were, they have been amazing role models to me. And even though my father's not here, I feel like he is still here, because I definitely have learned so much from him, and also from my mother. My mother is very strong. She's very structured. And my sister's very strong. She's very well accomplished and in her own right as well. So being surrounded by these three people who are really dynamos, and I've always looked up to all of them, that helped motivate me, and still does help motivate me every day.
That's wonderful. And you mentioned a couple of uncles. Do you want to share a little bit about how much you loved your aunt and uncles?
Yes. So my father had one brother, my Uncle Bob, and they were in the car business together. They were new car dealers, and they worked at the dealerships. And so I worked there out of college. I was, first I was in sales, and then I was a finance manager, but we spent a lot of time together. And we always lived a couple of doors down from my cousins. And it was really just a wonderful family experience. We did so much together. And I learned the things I learned about business from my Uncle Bob and from my dad are literally priceless. And I have a lot of those in the book. So when you work in a family business, you know that that's difficult anyway. And there's certain expectations that your family has of you, and you don't really know what you're doing, right? So you have to figure it out on the job. And I made some definite mistakes that have always stood out in my life, but I've remembered them. So my Uncle Bob was definitely somebody who had a huge influence on me.
That's great. And yes, I enjoyed reading that. And I don't know if I ever told you that my daddy had a company. And so all of us kids worked for my father for a while. And what you learn in a family business, and I think you even said this in your book, you're not going to learn at school. It's
Right.
priceless.
So true. So true. And I also wanted to mention my Uncle Ron. He and my dad were friends for 60 years, and his wife, my Aunt Sally, friends with my mom and dad 6 years. And I grew up with them almost as, my second family. And we're still really close with them. My uncle was the president of real estate for Sears. And the things that I've learned from him over time are just priceless as well. So I think it's important to have people in your life whom you respect and who didn't have things handed to them. My two uncles I told you about, my dad, they had to work for everything that they have. And that really makes you take pause and take a step back and think, wow, I know how hard my father and mother worked to give me what it is I have. And I know the value of a dollar.
And that's so fabulous. And that deals with having great role models.
Definitely.
And I know one of the things that's so important for people who are like, oh my gosh, I wish I could have role models like that. Maybe you could share with your audience how you feel it's important to go role models and how maybe they could look for one.
Absolutely. Thank you. And, not everyone has role models in their family, right? That's just the way that it is. And there's all types of family scenarios, but there are definitely people who can be a role model in what it is that you want to do. So I know for me, I really don't think of myself as competing with anyone. I always think of myself as wanting to learn from others. So, for example, in what I'm doing today, there are people who are outstanding broadcasters, and I look to them and ask them to mentor me so that I can learn just a tiny bit of what they know. And one example is Ian Pelham Turner. I've mentioned him before. He reached out to me in the very beginning. And so to have somebody like that give me insights and direction and advice based on his own experience. So what I would say to the audience is there are role models out there for all of us, whether it's personally or professionally, and especially what we've been through in the pandemic. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. It's so easy to contact people now because many of us are at home and we're on the computer, and people like to hear from you. People want to share what they know.
That is so true. And now we're going to dive into something a little bit deeper, only because I think it's important for all of us to come to grips with it. Trigger points. You mentioned your trigger points, and not that you need to talk about them so much, but how you had to learn how to deal with them in order to continue working in a professional environment or setting up your own.
Definitely. Well, there have been a number of things through my career, Diann, and I put some of them in the book. There aren't enough pages to put them all down. But I worked in corporate America for my entire career up until last year. And of course, when I first worked for my dad and my uncle. And as a woman in corporate America, in the careers that I was in, I worked mostly with men. And, from the beginning of my career, and that changed as I got older and went on. But there's certain things you have to deal with as a woman in business, obviously. And I went through sexual harassment numerous times. I went to the EEOC. I went to HR departments to complain about people. And when you do those things, sometimes it backfires. And sometimes it's your word against the other person's word. I interviewed for a job that my ex-husband at the time, he was a recruiter, and he connected me with this organization, very well-known company. It was a huge opportunity. It was, I think, a $250,000 package plus. And I was the last interview of the day, and it was at a restaurant. And the guy basically said, "You have all night to show me how much you want this job." And then he said, "You've ignited this passion within me that's laid dormant for years." And I knew right then and there I wasn't getting that job. And I was just so angry that it had been taken away from me without me having an opportunity, a real opportunity, because somebody else had their own agenda. And so those types of things have been triggers for me, knowing that because I'm a woman and because I try to keep myself in decent shape, I'm fairly intelligent, that I've been precluded from doing things that I wanted to do in my career because a man had the power and I didn't have it.
Wow, that was brave of you to share all that, and so wonderful. When I first read your book, I never mentioned any of that to you because I just thought, wow, that was so brave. And since I personally know some people that have experienced some of these things, but they've never ever put it on word, down on paper. That was incredible, and I'm so glad you did. And you shared why, because you want women to stand up for themselves. And that was one thing I loved about your book. You had a chapter, I think, Reigning Men.
Yeah. And by the way, I just want to declare I love men. I think men are great. I'm not bashing men. And I know that men get discriminated against as well.
Yes.
So I can only share my own personal experience about that. So that's definitely a trigger point for me. And when you file a claim with the EEOC, you find that there are 9 other people who also had the same thing happened. And then it's your word, the collective you against one man's word, and you lose.
Yep. That is so true. So people out there listening, be sure you stand up for yourself. There's so much in this book, and I want to make sure we get through it all. So if you don't mind, I want to jump ahead.
Sure.
And you just share real briefly just your journey, because you didn't just go from getting your master's, your doctorate, and then you did a little bit of corporate, but you were in the corporate world. And did you love it at first? And then what made you leave?
Perfect. So I started out at AT&T. I was there just under 10 years. Then I went to Siemens, and I was there, I think, for about 5 years. And then I switched industries. My brother-in-law was in a different industry, and I decided to go and see if I could get the job selling meetings and events, employee recognition, and sales incentives. I ended up getting it. I was on the same sales team as him, which was a lot of fun. And then I left and went to another organization. And I loved my career. I had a great career. There's nothing bad that I want to say, even about the sexual harassment. That's just certain individuals, right? But what I found was, Diann, my health started going downhill. And in 1991, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and that is an incurable disease. It's known as the dreaded bathroom disease. And so through my career, I'm flying around, I'm meeting with clients, I'm going out to dinners, and I just have to say it, I have to keep running to the bathroom. How many times can you get up at a dinner and run to the bathroom? They're like, hello, or you're flying on a plane. Then I developed an airborne shellfish allergy. So if somebody's walking by with a plate of shrimp or whatever it is, my throat immediately closes off, and I've got like 20 seconds to get out of the building. And so I'm selling meetings and events, traveling around the world in big conference spaces, for national sales meetings. And you can't control what food's going to be served. Although my employer tried very hard, they made great accommodations for me, but you can't control what a client's going to order or what's going to be on the menu for this event or that event. And then I got facial eczema, and I got scalp psoriasis. And I realized my body was trying to tell me something, that I wasn't in my lane. And so I started analyzing, how was I going to give up this big paycheck and all these incredible benefits? I stayed at the best places in the world, had the best food, and just the clients that I worked with were just amazing. So it was a hard decision.
I'm sure it is. And I remember reading in your book about the shellfish. And for people who don't know it, it's a big reaction. It's just as strong, if not stronger, than people who don't know they're allergic to peanuts, and then all of a sudden they eat peanuts. And so, but my brother, actually, Danny, he was never allergic to anything, and he wanted to do a side job. So he took this one job at a restaurant, and he decided he would help the person who's washing dishes, and he put his hands on the soap, and it was plates that had shellfish on it at one time, and his whole body broke out into a rash, and he had to be rushed to the hospital. And thank goodness the hospital was closed, because it could have had a different outcome. So you don't mess with that shellfish, do you?
Definitely not. No, I actually found out that I had the allergy at a client dinner down in the Hollywood area of Florida at this beautiful hotel. We had this private room, and one of the major pharmaceutical companies was my client, and there were about 25 of us at the table. And long story short, somebody ordered lobster bisque, and we were passing a plate of steak tartare or something around, and it ended up the lobster biscuit on the piece of steak, which I don't eat meat anymore. And I ate it, and I had to go to the hospital. They called the paramedics, and that's how I found out I had this allergy. And that wasn't even airborne. It became airborne after that.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's incredible. And I remember reading how and not to keep spending a lot of time on it, but it's your body talking to you. And that's what I want people to understand, is that your body tells you things. We have to listen to it. And it wasn't very nice of the stewardess not to listen to you. She kind of made fun of you. So
yeah, so for the people watching and listening, this was sort of the crudité, if you will, or the crux of the decision to leave corporate. I was on a flight. I was in row 5, and there were 2 gentlemen next to me. I was next to the window. And of course, first class was just on the other side of the wall. And as we were about to back up from the gate, I heard the flight attendant talk to the passengers in first class to ask them, are you going to have the salad with the chicken or with the shrimp? And as soon as I heard shrimp, I was like, shrimp? That was like 911, because I cannot be anywhere near shrimp. So long and short of it is, when I finally got someone's attention, because they were not paying any attention to me, I'm ringing the call bell, the guys won't let me out. We already backed up from the gate. And when I told the flight attendant that I couldn't be around shrimp, that maybe I could go to the back of the plane, she said the flight is fully sold out and it wouldn't matter because the air is recycled. So finally, they talked to the pilot, and the pilot made an announcement that they had to take us back to the gate because of a customer issue. And then what I found out, Diann, of course, when I get up from the plane, everyone's like, oh, that look, it's like, oh, it's her. So when I got to the gate attendant, it turns out that they don't even know what's going to be served on a flight. So I wrote to the airline, to the vice president, and just could they put a drop down menu on when you go to book your flight that says food allergy, whatever it is. And they said they're not able to do anything about it, and they would suggest that I stop flying.
isn't that amazing? Just incredible. Suggest that you stop flying.
Yeah.
in this day and time. That was before Zoom.
Right, exactly. So how could I do my job if I can't fly to where I have to go?
Yes, that's correct. And so that led you to say, okay, I'm not feeling, my body's telling me something. I have this. I mean, there was steps, and then all of a sudden you just like went cold turkey and jumped into a new world. Share how that happened, because I know this part is going to really inspire people out there who are like, I need to do something with my life.
Well, first of all, throughout almost my entire career, I've always had side gigs. I've always been interested in learning other things. And sometimes they really paid off. They were beneficial. I was a cosmetologist. I worked for Bloomingdale's and Macy's and had people in the chair at Clinique and Chanel learning how to take care of themselves, how to apply makeup. I've been insurance agent, real estate agent, all these things while I was doing my job, because I always want to learn. That's how I got my master's and my doctorate. So what ended up happening was, one day, as a result of my involvement with the Crohn's Colitis Foundation, I started a support group, and I got very involved because of my own illness. And during the support groups, people would talk about how they needed additional support. They needed to be able to talk to somebody from a professional level in addition to going to a support group. So I thought, why don't I get my life coaching certification? So I started researching. I found what I thought was the best one. And in the class was this wonderful woman whom you know, Mariska Duprier, who's in New Zealand. And she was going for the certification as well. And we started bartering and trading services. So she would coach me, I would coach her. And she helped me come up with a plan, a 3-part plan to retire from my career. And basically the first step, and I'm just going to keep it short, I picked a date and I put the date on a piece of paper. I will be retiring on February 20th, I think it was, or the 21st, 2020. I put it on the refrigerator, and every day I'd look at it and I'd think, there's no way I can do this. And so finally I did it. And of course, a week after, I think my last day was March the 6th because of the 2 weeks. And then the next week, New Jersey shut down and it's pandemic. And so I had been doing life coaching and nobody could afford to pay me anymore. And I was just thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? So I got my yoga certification and I got my meditation certification. And I just started focusing on broadcasting.
Wow, that is incredible. And I really loved how you said you put a date up because, and I think in your book you even said you need to stick to it, correct?
Yes. Yes. And I remember when I drove to the office to resign, I had a scheduled meeting with my boss every week. It was the same time we would meet. And I handed him the letter and his jaw dropped open. And he said, I can't believe this. He said, Art, I give you so much credit. He said, to go out on your own. He said, that takes courage. It takes discipline, structure, all the things that you have. And I remember getting in the car and I felt so liberated and free. And then in March, after the pandemic hit, I was literally terrified. I was terrified because I gave up everything that I knew, all of my security. And in the meantime, I had been doing a radio show with Business Talk Radio out of New York, and I paid for it. And they would call me every week and interview me. And so in April, I decided I wanted to take the show over. And of course, this is all in the book. And they said, absolutely not. They gave their reasons. And of course, being the salesperson I am, I just overcame all of their objections. And they said, all right, we've never done this before. We've never had somebody who doesn't work for us. You're not in New York. You've no experience, no equipment, but we're going to go for it. And so I took over the show. And from there, we went on Zoom. And then from there, StreamYard. And here we are today.
What a journey. And just like, wow, that is amazing. And that was Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, correct?
Yes, that was Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. That's how we started out. And now it's USA Global TV.
I just want to stop for a second and say congratulations.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And it does take courage. And I'm going to say it again. It does take courage for our listeners out there who are wanting to figure out where their heart is really meant to be. So, Dr. Jacalyn, you walked away from a good paycheck, correct?
Big.
And I assume you had some savings or
yes
that you could handle.
Yes.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I was going to say, for all of you who are out there who are thinking about doing something, what I would suggest is take action now. Take action now. I have, I'm also a certified coach, as you know, and people will come to me and they'll say, I don't know, it's not the right time. And I'll say, you've been telling me this for how long? I mean, even people I know really well, it's like they want to do something different, but they don't want to get out of their own way. You've got to take the first step, because even if everything goes wrong, you're still here, God willing. You have your health, you have resources, you have a network. You don't have to have a fortune to go out on your own. But yes, you will definitely have to make a lot of sacrifices. That is for sure.
Yes, that is for sure. And a learning curve.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know if I told you so. I was very comfortable being a classroom teacher. And then all of a sudden the principal's like, so our school's going to be an incubator for computers. And being the Texas girl, I think I told you this, I'm thinking NASA-sized computers, in the 80s. And I'm like, in the Philippines. I'm like, what on earth? And all of a sudden we are sent, and you have to learn how to use this, So like, I was like, oh, this is just crazy, right? And then we went in, it was the days of the floppy disks. You may not have been born yet.
Of course, yes.
And the light bulbs went off and the magic happened, and I just saw what I could do for students, and I just embraced this, and I just couldn't get enough. And I have a feeling that when you started broadcasting and you had that feeling like, I know I can do this and I'm going to prove you wrong, you guys. Is that what happened to you?
It is. And it's also that I really care about people. And I really wanted to give people a place to share their story. So the first show that I came out with was Stories of Hope, Inspiration, and Overcoming Adversity. And it was really for people from the support group, from the Crohn's colitis support group, for them to be able to share their story. Because what happens, at least what happened for me and what I find through my coaching and being a support group facilitator, is when you have an incurable disease, right? You have an illness that affects you every day. You have so many things that you just lock down. You just take your feelings, your shame, your humiliation, and you just lock it all down. And by doing that, you really help perpetuate the illness, right? So if people can share their story and get away from the shame, like for me, and I just put it out there, I have been in public many times and lost control of my bowels, sitting in a gorgeous Chanel suit in my own waist. There's something about that you just don't ever get over. And so when those kinds of things happen and people are laughing at you, the person I was with actually got up and left me there. You take all of that to heart because you already are sick. You don't feel well physically, mentally, and now you have this horrible shame. So by having this platform, I was encouraging people to deal with what they have and inspire others. Take those horrible feelings, just throw them out there. They're going to be gone and you can move on with your life.
Wow. That is so powerful. And you gave people permission to say it's okay.
Yes.
And I think your body internalizes that, and in a way it starts healing itself. And I know this disease is incurable, but in a way there's something that just releases or relaxes, I would think, to let a little stress out.
Definitely. Well, what I found during the pandemic, in the beginning of the pandemic, all of my illnesses were flared and I lost 12 pounds, I think up until I don't even know what time of year it was. But as it turned out, now that I'm away from everything that I used to be involved with, with my career and where I used to live, everything's in remission. I changed my diet. I have other stress. Believe me, it's very stressful running a broadcasting platform like this. You have no idea, folks who are watching and listening, no idea the cost, the time, what goes into it. But it motivates me. It inspires me because every time I get to interview someone, I learn something and I think, wasn't that amazing? That person was just amazing. I just met somebody from Dubai and I learned about this, that. It's just amazing. I'm just so grateful that I have this opportunity.
And all of us that are listeners, including myself, who is blessed to be part of your shows now, it is an amazing opportunity. But to me, you're an angel on earth helping others, and I can't say enough about it. In your book, though, you talk about how you can take something negative, like that's dysfunctional in your life, and in a way, it's a positive. And I know exactly what you were talking about, but can you share that with the audience?
Definitely. Thank you. I try to say yes whenever I can. People ask me for things. If I could give you a list just this week of things people have asked me to do for them, I don't even know a lot of the people. And I say yes, yes, yes. Well, many times I have days where all I get is no. No, 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 no. And I just had one of them. I think it was yesterday. And so now instead of overreacting or reacting, because I don't want my health to be affected, I take a deep breath in, I take a step back, and I say to myself, how can I look at this from another perspective? What value can I take out of that no? Is it that I'm supposed to go in a different direction? Is it that by this potentially closing, that another door is going to open? And I pray about it. I'm like, dear Lord, can you please give me a sign? Can you show me something? And invariably, Diann, something positive happens.
That is so true. So everybody there who is in maybe a relationship that isn't that great, or you're in having a disagreement with a family member for years and years and years, maybe there's a reason for it. Figure out what positive you can bring from that and make that adjustment. Would you say that would be true, Dr. Jacalyn?
Definitely. And to add on to that, Diann, I think this is really vitally important. There are definitely scenarios, situations that are not healthy. that are toxic, that are not good for us. And we come up with all kinds of reasons of why we're going to stay, why we're going to continue. And that's because we are afraid. So if you're in a situation, we know there's all kinds of situations. We could be here forever just throwing out a small amount of them. You have to really evaluate, why are you staying in the situation? Is it fear? Is it money? Is it dependency? Whatever it is, and find a way to make a plan to move on, because it's about changing your perspective, and it's all about taking action. If you have people in your life who are constantly putting you down, who are constantly throwing rocks at you, move away, move on. Get some other friends. Don't have any friends. Be a friend with yourself. Listen to your intuition and follow your dreams.
This is so true. And now to tag back into what you were talking about, the old saying, one door closes, another door opens. If I recall, maybe you could share how a door opened or maybe a window closed, and all of a sudden something opened and you are now taking voice lessons, right?
Exactly.
You didn't know
Exactly.
that, did you?
Yeah, no, I didn't. And I have to share this, everybody watching and listening, that there are people in this world who are givers. Diann is one of those. And I'm not just saying that because she's here. It's true. Whether I said it or not, it is actually the fact. It's the truth. There are people out there who want to help, who will share. And you have to be open to receiving that. Many times people think, oh, what does she really want? She has something planned up her sleeve, because other people have done that to us, right? So if you're open to meeting new people, if you're open to having new experiences, if someone presents an idea to you, think about it. You're so used to doing the same old thing the same old way. A new year's coming. Okay. Take an opportunity for personal and professional growth. Close something. We have to let go of things, right? It's like this bottle of water. It's like, I'm holding onto this water for dear life. No, you have to put it down, and then maybe a whole stream of water is going to come. But we have to believe in ourselves and surround ourselves with the right people who also are assets on our journey. And we have to have the right mentors, the right coaches, and the right influencers.
And that's so true. And I know in working with you that, I called you to help me with a business plan. And it was so extremely helpful. And I think one of the things I found amazing that you really made sure that I understood. And you said this in I think on your Business Talk Radio as well. And it fits in with things that you talk about in your book, that you need more than just a life coach. You need a business coach. Can you share how you need different people and that are experts?
Definitely.
I'm not saying it well.
No. So basically, folks, when you're starting a business, okay, because it's different if you have your own business or if you work for someone, because typically if you work for someone, they have all these resources. But if you have your own business, you're not going to know what it is you don't know. You have to have an attorney. You have to have an accountant. You have to have various coaches. At any time up until recently, I probably had 6 coaches that I was working with. And you might say, well, I can't afford 6 coaches. Well, no, who can? So you can barter with people. You can make exchanges with people. Hey, I'll do this for you if you do that for me, etc. Maybe you can offer some type of incentive, or they can offer some type of incentive. There's ways to work things out that don't necessarily have to equate to the dollars and cents. But you need somebody who's where you want to go, because they've already gone there. They know what to expect along the way. And what you can definitely expect are challenges. You can definitely expect people throwing rocks at you, people who don't support what it is that you're going to do, people who say to you, if I could tell you, Diann, how many times I've heard this, well, how much money are you making? Was it really worth leaving your job and all that money? Yeah, I don't care about money. I need enough money to live, but I'm not attached to the almighty dollar. That's not what motivates me. I'm a heart-centric person. So the point is, reach out to people whom you respect, who are doing things that you want to do, who have insights that they're going to be willing to share with you. I share with people all the time.
Thank you. That was so beautiful. And sharing and working together and growing is really what humans are all about. We're not about things. We cannot take things with us when we die.
So true.
But we can take our mind with us and our heart. And I loved how you said you were heart centric. And I think if the world could become more heart centric instead of valuing things, like I have a lot of books behind me. I love these books, but I know they're going to go to my children and their children and their children because they're all children's books, right? But I can't take them with me. But for the moment, I can enjoy them, and each one has a story. But I know I'm getting a little away from it. But I want people to know, well, she has a lot of things behind her, and I'm like, yeah, those are things, but there are things that work with my business. Does that make sense? And
Yes.
who I am. One of the things that I think I told you, and I'm going to read so I don't mess up the quote because I love this quote. And, I think I'm going to actually paint this cool picture by it, or maybe an angel or something, and stick this quote on there because I think it's important for everyone. Set the stage to plan your future self. Set the stage to plan for your future self. Dr. Jacalyn, that is a powerful line. And I think when you were saying set a date, that fits in with this plan, correct?
It does. And Diann, I've shared this before, but if I could just show you, it's not going to work out too well on the screen, but I have notebooks upon notebooks upon notebooks. I have my highlighter and I just start crossing things off. I write everything down. Before I begin on a Sunday, I have the whole week written down, including when I'm exercising. Because to me, exercise is so important. That is one of my top priorities because of my health. So it goes right on this plan that I have for the week. So I think if people start really planning things out, and again, I have to just share this, which is I'm not someone who is really interested in a great social life. I've had a great social life. I've had great men, great relationships. That's not a priority for me at the moment. My priority is to take this platform to the next level so that even more people around the world can share their story. Well, how am I going to do that? I have to have a plan. Right? I have to have a plan that has to get executed, and I can't do all of it myself. So I want people to realize that when you have a plan, you still need support. You still need great partners. You still need mentors. You still need coaches, and you need people beside you who believe in you. Diann's been here since the beginning, right? So Diann could have left at any moment. She could have said, I don't see where this is going, but she's still here. And so that's what you need. You need 100 Dianns.
Well, setting that plan, I saw the magic you were creating, and it's incredible. I think it also fits in what you just stated, and you also said in your book, it's important to invest in yourself. And before you get to that investing in yourself, and I think you were also trying to say, you have to define yourself. So maybe you define yourself, set a plan, and invest in yourself. Does that make
It does. It does. Yes. And as we're coming to the end of our show, unfortunately,
we have to end it. It's so good.
I know we do. We have another show right after this. But yes, so what I'd like to just share about that is have a plan, right? I already said that I'm very structured, but you have to give yourself grace because you can't always be structured. And the reason is because things are going to come your way that you had no idea whatsoever. And if you are just set in stone, it's not going to work out too well. So I just want to kind of leave people with this idea. Know who you are. Okay. Take the time to invest in yourself. How can you do that? Meditate, positive affirmations. I love yoga. Okay. Go for a walk with nature. Put the technology down. I'd love for you to walk around with your computer watching our shows 24/7. Put it down. Put it down and go get in touch with nature. The new year is coming. What can you change in your life that will bring you happiness? What can take you from leading an egocentric life, if you are, to a more heart-centric life? And the last thing I would share is, how can you help other people? So important.
So important. And when you help other people, you are helping yourself too, because you're growing more heart-centric, correct?
Exactly. And the last thing I'll share is that I would just love for people this holiday season, do something for a stranger, help somebody that you don't even need to be recognized. I don't sit here and give a list. Well, Tuesday I did this for her and this for him and this for Diann. Doesn't do that. It doesn't matter. We're not keeping track, but we are interested in lifting people up and actually finding inner peace, I think, and world peace. So try to help each other, be good to yourself, give yourself a break, and please listen to one another instead of talking over each other.
Oh, that's great advice. And two things I'd like to share in closing. One of your sponsors was music with the gongs and all that. Do you remember the commercial? Ding! So what I'm saying, guys, is that even if you can't go out for a walk because you don't feel very well, put some music on that.
Okay.
Just, a gong. You just hit that gong, gong, and the vibrations, right? And it does something, it touches your soul. And that's what we have to do. We have to get back in touch with our soul, because our soul is what we take with us. And that helps you become more heart-centric. Right, Dr. Jacalyn?
Definitely a good point. Thank you, Diann. And thank you for this beautiful interview. I really appreciate it. I'm just going to put the visual up. I would really love it if people would go over and buy my book. You can buy an ebook. I think it's very inexpensive, $1 or something. But the reason why, trust me, I'm not making any money off this book. I'm not getting rich off the book, but it lets you have some insights that I hope you can use in your own life, because it's really helped me a lot, and I'm happy to share it.
And I'm so glad you did. And truly, people do not realize, and I love the title of your book, Behind the Green Screen, because there's a lot that goes on. So when you're watching the show or you're listening to the show and you think, oh man, those people are so great, they rock, they must have this incredible life must be just so wonderful. You now understand through Dr. Jacalyn that it's not only roses working my way up there.
We could do a whole show on things that happen while we're actually broadcasting that, it's just like, oh, I just keep going. Nobody knows what's going on behind me or in front of me or next to me. So, but thank you, Diann, for this beautiful interview. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I hope you're going to have another book for us to inspire us.
Yes, I definitely, my next book is just about finished. I have one interview that I'm fine tuning, and we do have some comments. Thank you guys for commenting. I can't put them up right now, but I'll look at them on social media. We have a special event coming up right after this, Hot New Trends. And I will be back with my new friend whose store is Jamaican Me Crazy.
Ooh,
my friend Roz Timon. So we'll be back. Thank you again, Diann. Thank you, everybody. Diann, I look forward to seeing you on our next show.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.